What is up, everyone? Welcome back to First Date Unsolved, and welcome to episode 9. So I know I mentioned last week that it's weird for me to say I hope you enjoyed ... but I hope you all found the two-part story of Adolf Troyer interesting. I know I did. That that blew my mind. No joke. I was like, whoa, some serious, lifetime movie stuff, kind of, right? And, as I say at the end of every episode, if you think nothing happens here in Delaware, man, you thought wrong because there's some wild stuff that happens here and we just don't hear about it. And this episode is going to be a compilation of some other sad, interesting, wild cases as well. This episode is going to be a compilation of cases that stopped me pretty much dead in my tracks during my research process. I kind of already explained that to you guys, if I believe episode 7, so I won't go over that again. But these cases stopped me dead in my tracks. The cases I'm going to cover today are a compilation of the instances where I was not able to either locate a family member of the victim, or if I was able to locate a family member or somebody close to the family member, I wasn't able to get in contact with them. I reached out via, good old Facebook, and just, over the last several months since I started this, I haven't heard back. So I kind of gave up, waiting. Despite the scarcity of details on these victims, I still did want to discuss them today, and I still wanted to mention them because these are still unsolved cases. These are very much cold cases here, and I wanted to still create some type of awareness for them. I did want to put their names out there and pay homage to them, I guess you could say. And that's kind of the name of this episode until I can come up with a better title. This episode and episodes like this will be my homage episodes. Think of it as like kind of an honorable mentions. Didn't sound right. It wasn't the right definition for what I'm trying to do. These people are victims. Their stories deserve to be told. You deserve to hear them. I just don't have enough information available to me at the time, right now, to put together like a 15, 20, 30-minute episode. That's all. Maybe, down the line, a family member or a close, associate of these people will hear this, reach out, and we can do an update of some sort, or, a separate episode for these people. That would be awesome. That is a goal, I guess you could say. But that would be great, and, I would love to do that. It's just right now, like I said, I don't have a lot of information on these people, but I still wanted to share their stories with you guys. So there will be more of these in the future, but this is what I have for you here today. But before I dive into these 6 mini cases, I need to announce the winners of our cookie giveaway. There is a winner for Facebook and a winner for Instagram. I do appreciate those of you who have participated. I did gain a few followers from this giveaway. I hope Cafecito Bistro did as well. Not entirely sure though, because Mr. and Mrs. Cafecito Bistro are on vacation. They are road tripping it up, and I am not going to bother them. So let's see here. The winner we have for Facebook is Mr. Luciano Colon Jr. Luciano is someone I know, and I will be reaching out to you, letting you know you're a winner, and also, to figure out how you want to receive your prize, and hopefully, catch up with you a little bit, because that would be fun. And the winner we have here for Instagram, she has her name Mimi listed. I will reach out to you as well, Mimi. I'll be contacting you via the First Date Unsolved Instagram page to coordinate drop off or pick up or whatever is most convenient for you. I do so appreciate you participating, and you are gorgeous. Let me just say that. So congratulations. I know it's not like huge, it's not like winning the Powerball or anything, but I thought this was fun. I look forward to doing giveaways in the future, and I hope this was fun for you guys as well. So in the show notes, I will list each person's name as well as websites that I used for the research of these very short segments. And then on social media, I tend to put the cover photo and then a few photos of the victims. I'll do the same thing here. I'll put just a plain cover photo with the logo, and then I'll list a photo of each of these people. First unsolved case that we are going to cover today is that of Carrie Mondell. Carrie Mondell was born February 22nd, 1985, and sadly passed on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. I almost said 2002 again. I don't know why 2020 is so hard for me to say. I'm sorry. Carrie was a 37-year-old mother and a senior vice president at WSFS Bank in Wilmington. According to her obituary, Carrie loved being active and spending time outdoors, but loved her family and friends most of all. People who knew her best called her kind and caring, and know that she leaves behind a legacy of love and light. On the evening of Tuesday, August 16th, the UAD graduate was driving home from work, where she was struck by a stray bullet just 3 blocks away from the WSFS headquarters. The bullet entered her vehicle from the passenger side, striking Carrie and fatally injuring her. According to Delaware Online, quote, Mondell, along with an unidentified 22-year-old man, was shot shortly before 5 p.m. Tuesday on the 700 block of North Washington Street, end quote. The 22-year-old male was standing at an intersection in the area and was not with Carrie, was not associated with Carrie. He was standing probably by like a stop sign or on a corner of some kind, and she was driving home. I was not able to determine if this young man was the intended target, but he was also struck during the shooting. Witnesses of the shooting did make statements, but wished to have their names withheld, and I'm sure we all can kind of figure out why, right? One neighbor did do her best to assist the Wilmington police with taking care of Carrie after the incident. She provided them with a towel, prior to the ambulance arriving, in order to kind of stop the bleeding. But ultimately, Carrie did pass away from the bullet wound. At this time, Carrie's killer has yet to be identified, and Crime Stoppers states that there is a $30,000 cash reward for information leading to the arrest of the gunman. If you have any information at all, you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIP-333 or go to DelawareCrimeStoppers.com. This second case is also about a gunshot victim. 37-year-old John Paul Cook was at his home with his wife and his son on the evening of September 21st, 1996. The family had just wrapped up their 9-year-old son's birthday party when 2 men entered the Newark home roughly around 8:30 p.m. John's son received non-life-threatening injuries, but after the struggle, John was shot several times and was fatally wounded. Cook's murderers have never been apprehended, and at the end of 2019, Newcastle County Police put up a Crime Stoppers billboard featuring photos of John Paul Cook, Jantel Johnson, Nick Riley, and an unknown white female whose remains were discovered in 1977. I was unable to find any other information on John except for what his obituary mentions. John graduated from Del Tech in 1994 and worked for Schweizer's Therapy and Rehabilitation in Newcastle. He was also a Cub Scout leader. Just like Carrie Mondell's situation, if you have any information, you can contact Delaware Crime Stoppers on their website or by calling the 1-800-TIP-333 number. I think this is really, really sad because they had just finished celebrating a birthday party, and these guys break in, rough the family up, and ultimately kill John. And that's terrible. I can't even imagine that poor little boy. His whole life, his birthday is never going to be the same. So if you have any information, please, it's anonymous. I might say this a couple more times in this episode. Crime Stoppers, you can report things anonymously. It's anonymous. If you know anything at all, please report it. Our third case originally stood out to me because of the victim's name. I have, I guess you could say, kind of married into a family of Maldonados. Kind of, sort of, not really, not really, I don't know. But Maldonado is kind of a family name. So it stood out to me, and I wanted to learn more about, this victim and his story. I've been able to locate and communicate with family members via Facebook for other cases, but Maldonado is a very common name, and scanning for potential family members really was not even an option here. According to the First State Update page, on Tuesday, May 7th, 2013, at approximately 11:14 p.m., police responded to a shooting in the area of 758 Christiana Road, the Cedarwood Apartments in Newark, Delaware. The victim was discovered lying on the ground, motionless, while in front of a building. The victim was transported to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead as a result of a gunshot wound to his upper body. While motive, while motive can only be speculated, no one knows for sure why 46-year-old Ruben Maldonado was attacked and shot that evening. A witness to the crime was able to provide enough details for a composite sketch, and the suspect was described as a black male between 5'7" and 5'10". The suspect had a dark complexion and weighed approximately 200 pounds. Unfortunately, this is, again, all the info I could find on this case and the victim. There's no way, even if you can find the obituary and pull people's names out of there, like relatives, it's going to be impossible to find the right Maldonado family member. So if you knew him or know his family, please let them know that I would, absolutely be honored to have the opportunity to speak with them about Ruben. And of course, again, if you have any information about the incident that took Ruben's life, please contact Crime Stoppers. This is the one instance where there was a composite sketch created, so I will list that photo on social media as well. You never know. It could help solve something, right? The next story is that of 3 missing children. Nechemyhwh, Zion, and Amaryhwh, I believe is how you pronounce their names. At least that is what the internet told me. I could not get an official pronunciation on their last name, so I'm not even going to attempt it because I would absolutely butcher that. The 3 siblings, because they are siblings, have been missing since February 24th, 2019. Nechemyhwh would now be 12. His sister Zion would now be 10. And the youngest, Amaryhwh, would be 7. Now, they are believed to be with their biological father, who is the non-custodial parent, and they are thought to be with him somewhere in Egypt. I was not able to locate any information on their mother because that's just how we do it here, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't able to find any information on their mother, and I couldn't find any information on any other relatives either. You may or may not have noticed that most of the cases I covered this season were of unsolved homicides, and I would really like to cover more cases of missing children and adults. But again, there is just no information available online. If you are from Delaware, I wish you all luck, because if you are murdered or you go missing, it's likely that you will not receive justice. The only 2 cases that had any details available about missing people online were that of Jantel Johnson and Nefertiti Trader. Jantel's story has only been told because a journalist from, I believe, Philly, which is kind of local, I guess. A journalist took enough interest in the case, and used her resources to help the family get the word out. I was lucky to find 3 sentences, and that is not even an exaggeration. I was lucky to find 3 sentences on each of the missing children in Delaware. Not just these 3 specific children I just spoke about. 3 sentences about any missing children in the state. The Gold Alert website, there are no updates posted on that. You can go as far back as the first page of missing people. You have to individually look up each one of those cases, each one of those missing people, to find out if they have been found or not. There's no updates. I am going off on kind of a tangent here. I apologize. I'll just say one more thing. I recently, just this week, I was doing research, trying to put, stuff together for season 2, and I came across a young woman from Maryland. Her body was found in Delaware, but she was from Maryland. She was a Maryland resident. There were articles on her, Delaware Online, Baltimore Sun, Newark Post, and the Cecil Chronicle, Cecil Sun. I can never remember the name of that newspaper, but 4 different reputable sources covered her case. There wasn't an incredible amount of information, but she got coverage from 4 different sources because she was from Maryland. If she had been from Delaware, forget about it. Forget about it. There's a young lady, beautiful young woman, Risha Lewis. I will get to her at some point. I really don't want to add her to another Homage episode. I would love to speak to someone in her family, but this poor woman has been missing for quite some time, and it's quite the opposite. It's the opposite. So she was from Delaware, was supposedly going to Maryland, and has never been found. Is there any information on there about her? No. Look up Risha Lewis. You won't find anything. There is another Facebook profile called Unsolved. The profile picture is that of a young black man with dreads. And he is really the only one who I have seen talking about Risha Lewis. I probably shouldn't be shouting him out because he doesn't shout me out, but it's okay. It's not a competition here. He's the only one who talks about her. Listen, come on guys, we got to do better. And I'm going to kind of segue into another. I'm fired up, y'all. I'm sorry. I did not plan to be this upset today. And now I'm going to segue into a case of another missing child. The case of Shawn White is an interesting one, to say the least. And just as an FYI, I was able to locate Shawn's mother on Facebook and contacted her directly for comment or an interview, but she never replied. It's fine for whatever reason. It's not important. It doesn't matter. So I'll just jump right into it, I guess. The suspect, or the person of interest in the situation, was Shawn's father. I will link articles for you guys, as I always do. You can look up the information if you like. But as a precaution, I'm not going to say the name of Shawn's father. I'm just going to refer to him as Shawn's dad, Shawn's father, for the purpose of this episode. And by father, I mean biological father. Shawn was last seen with his biological father on December 8th, 2002. And yes, that's 2002. It's not 2022, and I'm just mispronouncing it. Shawn was just 1 month old at the time. 1 month and 2 days, to be exact. Shawn was visiting with his father over the weekend at his father's home in Wilmington. On Monday, December 9th, Shawn's father turned up at the apartment of Tanya Graham. Tanya is the mother of Shawn. Shawn's father showed up to Tanya's apartment, to Shawn's mother's apartment, without her son. Tanya was home with her other 5 children, and all 6 of the children have the same father as Shawn. They all share the same dad. And why Shawn was the only one visiting with his father that weekend, I'm not sure. I couldn't find any information, any reports on that. So Shawn's father shows up without Shawn, and Tanya obviously has questions as to where her baby was. Where's my kid? Shawn's father insisted that a woman would be dropping him off later that day. Now, if there actually was a woman, who she was, not clear. Not sure. That information wasn't released. I don't know. And after about 2 hours had passed and no one showed up with the baby, Tanya and Shawn's dad began to argue, which led to Tanya being attacked and stabbed in the neck 3 times. After stabbing the mother of his 6 children, the man fled Tanya's apartment, ultimately turning himself into police the next day. Thankfully, Tanya did survive, but had to be hospitalized for 2 days. 2 days in the hospital, worrying about your other 5 children while not even knowing where the 6th child, your 1-month-old baby, is. That had to be so incredibly hard for her. I'm so sorry for her. So sorry for you, Tanya. And when Shawn's father was arrested, he was originally charged with 2nd-degree assault, for stabbing Tanya, right? Charges were later bumped up, and the man eventually pled guilty to assault, possession of a deadly weapon during a felony, and endangering a child. Shawn's father was sentenced to 12 years in prison and 7 years of probation after his release, all while maintaining that Tanya knows where their son is and refusing to provide any information on his child's whereabouts. Authorities would go on to say that when Shawn's father was arrested, they were acting under the impression that, Shawn was out there somewhere and that, they needed to find him. As their investigation continued, though, their confidence faded and they took their search to the Cherry Island landfill to look for remains. Not quite sure what led them to go to the landfill, to the dump, to look for the baby's remains. But to this day, there is no evidence linked to Shawn's disappearance, and he has yet to be found. Shawn was last seen wearing green and white pajamas under a gray Mickey Mouse snowsuit. Shawn would now be 20 years old and was described as having long eyelashes and thick eyebrows. There are some age progression photos that I can share. And the interesting thing about age progression is they take, family traits. They take family members, the shapes of their nose, their mouth, faces, things like that. And they try to work off of what they have to start with. But Shawn was a month old. Age progression on an infant, I don't know. But I'll share that information with you guys. You can take a look at that. And with this one, if you have any information, please contact the Wilmington Police at 302-571-4525. Also, if you know Shawn's mother, Tanya, or any of his siblings, please let them know that I would jump at the chance to tell their story. My mind can't even take me to a place where Tanya has lived these last 21 years. And now, to the final mini story, case, what have you, that we're going to be covering is the unsolved murder of Joyner Ondimu. I just looked up how to pronounce it and I forgot that fast. Joyner was a 23-year-old nursing student who was studying at Del Tech. She was born on June 1st, 1981 in Kenya, and was tragically taken away from her family and loved ones on February 8th, 2005. Joyner was found brutally beaten in her Newark apartment by one of her, quote, roommates. I'm using quotes here because I found out from another podcast called Catch My Killer that Joyner's roommates were actually 3 of her cousins. In all of the other reports I came across, the only detail given was that a roommate discovered her lifeless body. Again, you can't see me, but I'm using little air quotes here because I wouldn't even call the information that I saw online an actual report of anything, really. The Newcastle County Police Department website lists this and nothing else. Quote, the victim was found deceased in her apartment by a roommate. The investigation reveals that the victim died of blunt force trauma to the head. The victim's purse was discovered missing, although robbery does not appear to be motive. End quote. Man, that's so descriptive, right? Ugh. Wow. What a joke. If you Google Joyner's name, this is all you will find about her murder. I think I looked at 3 other websites, and that is all I found besides her obituary and the Catch My Killer podcast. The host of Catch My Killer, Mark Hoover, was able to interview a good friend of Joyner, and she has been a real driving force in getting Joyner's story told and has made as much noise as she can. She stated that it took her 10 years just to get Joyner's case listed on the Newcastle County Cold Case website. 10 years. Unbelievable. The Catch My Killer podcast is really the only source of substance for this poor woman's story, and I didn't want to create my own episode for Joyner just based off of someone else's podcast, because that's someone else's work, that's someone else's interview. I don't want to plagiarize, Essentially, I didn't want to just paraphrase his work. I'd rather conduct my own interviews if possible and piece together my own content. So unfortunately for you guys, that's all I have for you on Joyner. But if you are interested in hearing more about her, I highly recommend you go listen to episode 17 of that podcast, because like I said, it's the only thing out there that gives any details on this woman's life and murder. There is definitely more to this case than what the police department has released. After listening to her friend Sarita's interview, I was just, blown away by how brutal the attack on Joyner was and how shady the situation surrounding her death was as well. Joyner seems like she was so selfless and intelligent, and more people need to hear her story, and for sure. Once again, if you knew her or have any way of contacting her family and friends, I'd love to speak to them. But again, go listen to that podcast. It's a great episode. If you have any information on Joyner's murder, please contact Detective Brian Shahan. You can email him or call him at 302-395-2781. You can also contact Glenn Davis at 302-395-8216, or there's always Crime Stoppers. And man, that's it, guys. This one, I'm gonna have to go back and edit. I don't know how much I'm gonna have to take out, just because I was seeing double at certain points, just because of the pure frustration. Pure. I can't even talk just because of the pure frustration. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry for these victims. So sorry for their families. Man, if you guys thought nothing ever happened here, wow, you were wrong. Have a great day, guys. Great week. Talk to you next time.